Previously on Be the Judge.
No, Richard, Stop, Richard, I am the victim. And that man raped me.
We find the accused in the case of the Republic versus Richard Simba not guilty of rape.
The accused is acquitted.
And your verdict was... In family law, a husband or wife who feels that they want a divorce can, as per the provisions of the Matrimonial Causes Act, petition the court to grant a divorce. The person who moves the court to grant a divorce decree is referred to as the petitioner and the other party as the respondent. Once the divorce decree is granted and becomes absolute, either party is thereafter deemed to legally have the capacity to marry someone else and not any sooner. A divorce decree is different from a declaration that a marriage is null and void. When it is declared as a nullity, it means that legally there was no valid marriage to begin with, whether or not the parties went through a marriage ceremony. A marriage can be declared as null for various reasons, including the fact that it was not consummated, a previous civil marriage undergone by either party was still in force at the time of the new marriage, or that either party was of unsound mind, among other specific grounds that were unknown to the petitioner at the time of marriage. The focus of today's trial will be on the process and implications of petitioning for a divorce decree, which the court will consider by applying strict legal principles, while we shall be handing the scales of justice to 9 Kenyans who will be part of a special jury. The outcome of the real court verdict will ultimately be revealed and compared to the jury's decision, explaining the legal basis of the judge's finding.
I can't take it anymore, Anne. I've had it.
What do you want to do?
I want a divorce, Anne. And I want my share of the property. At least I won't let that man cheat me out of my money.
I'm telling you, Steve, I want a divorce now. And make sure that woman doesn't get a single cent of my money or property.
All right, Mark, all right. But as I told you before, it would be better if your wife filed for the divorce petition herself.
Why? I want the divorce now. I can't stand that woman. After what she did to my Audrey, I'll never forgive her.
I understand, Mark. Believe me, I do.
Wouldn't it be easier if we had an agreement with Angela and her lawyers to finalize this matter? Honestly, Angela knows that this marriage is over. Naomi, my girlfriend, would be willing to testify.
Oh, Naomi will have to testify because there cannot be an agreement to divorce.
Do you have evidence to prove that Mark was cheating on you?
Don't worry. I can get that evidence. But what about this house? I mean, if I can prove that he cheated on me, then surely it's his fault that the marriage is ending. So I should get a larger share of the proceeds from the sale of this house.
So having Naomi, my girlfriend, testify wouldn't work against me as far as division of property goes?
Actually, it would speed things up if you admitted to adultery. Then the court can move on to sort out the division of property. And from what you've told me, there's an excellent chance that we can stop your wife from having a share of your Westlands house.
Even though there are many judges who will look at the issue of divorce and property separately, I will apply for the court to look at the two issues simultaneously. So, if we can prove that your husband has had an affair, then the court will grant you the petition. But it is very important for you to understand that even once the court has granted you the petition, there is still a compulsory 6-month period that has to pass before the divorce becomes absolute.
Why is that?
I guess it's in case the couple changes their mind.
There's no chance of that happening here.
My lady, before we proceed, the petitioner in this matter would like to request that the court hear and determine the petition for the divorce simultaneously with the suit of the division of the marital property.
We have no objection to this, my lady, should the court feel inclined to hear and determine both matters simultaneously.
The court shall hear both matters simultaneously, and as it's normal in such cases, the court shall be cleared. We shall hear this in camera.
My name is Angela Bala, housewife married to the respondent, Mark Bala.
You filed for a petition for divorce from your husband, Mark Bala. Why did you do so?
Mark and I have been married for 10 years, most of them happy. We've had our fair share of problems and tensions, but we always managed to come back together. But about 2 years ago, I noticed that Mark started becoming distant and aloof. He started coming home really late, and sometimes he would stay out all night. He claimed that he had been working, but he must have been lying. Working all night.
What did you think he was lying about?
One day when Mark was in the shower, he left his phone lying on the bed, which he normally doesn't. So I decided to check his text messages. There were several messages from someone he called NZ. The messages were really explicit and racy, describing how last night was great or wild. I confronted him about it, but he just laughed and called me ridiculous. So I decided to call some of my contacts at his office. Some of the secretaries who worked there had become really good friends of mine. One of them told me that Mark was spending a lot of time with a junior accountant in his office. I confronted him again, but this time he just walked out. He didn't talk to me.
He left?
Yes, he came back a few days later and acted as if nothing had happened. But he still wouldn't talk to me. I was devastated. After all we've been through, I tried to be a good wife to him, and he was a good husband. But then he just became, I didn't know him anymore. It was like I meant nothing to him. We started having really bad arguments about it. We argued more and more, and that's when I started drinking.
So you started drinking because you were unhappy?
Yes, I was really depressed. The alcohol helped me cope.
Angela, you suspected that your husband was being unfaithful, and that is why you're petitioning for divorce on grounds of adultery.
Look, all I want is to get this over with as soon as possible so I can start rebuilding my life.
You told the court that you were a housewife. Were you always a housewife?
No, I had a career. But after Mark and I got married, we decided that it would be best if I stayed home for the time being. I agreed to postpone my career. I wanted to support my husband's career.
You say you postponed your career plans. What plans were this?
An advertising executive in a leading firm. But 2 years after Mark and I got married, I stopped working. I had to attend a lot of social events as Mark's wife. That's what his firm expected. Sometimes I had to entertain his clients at our home. Things like that.
So you gave up your career in order to support your husband. How long did you do that for?
I did that for about 7 years. And then, of course, there was Audrey.
Angela, I know this may be difficult, but can you tell us about your daughter, Audrey?
Audrey passed away about a year ago. She died in a car accident. Mark and I, we were both devastated.
I can only imagine. While you were mourning the death of your daughter, where was your husband?
Mark left me. He moved out shortly after Audrey's death. We've been having some problems, but I thought he was seeing someone, but at least he was still coming home. But when Audrey died...
So let me see if I understood this correctly. You suspected that your husband was having an affair, found evidence to prove that it was true, confronted your husband about it, and he denied it. There was the tragic death of your daughter Audrey, and that is the time your husband decided to move out. The time when you needed the support of your husband the most, he decided to move in with his mistress.
Yes, that's what happened.
And he left you alone in the house, your Westlands house.
Yes.
Your husband bought the house.
Well, he got the loan and it's in his name. But for the first 2 years of our marriage, I paid the bulk of the loan installments. Then I stopped working and started taking care of our family and home.
So you contributed financially to the acquisition of the property,
Yes.
took care of the family, supported your husband, and maintained the home which you live in.
Yes.
No more questions, my lady.
Mrs. Bala, sorry to have to put you through this. I know it must be difficult. But you told this court that your daughter died in a car accident. Was anyone found culpable for this accident?
Culpable?
Yes, you were in a collision with another car, am I right?
Yes.
Was the driver of the other car found culpable for the accident?
No, no. I drove that day to Audrey's school to pick her up. We were about halfway home when we had the accident in which Audrey died.
So you were driving the car?
Yes.
Had you been drinking when you drove your daughter to school?
My lady, I fail to see the relevance in this line of questioning. Counsel for respondent is distressing the petitioner.
Are you an alcoholic?
My lady, you have to put a stop to this.
Isn't it true that you had been drinking before you went to pick up your daughter, and that in fact you were drink driving?
Justice Akia.
That's enough, both of you. Mr. Limo, unless you can show what grounds you have for asking such questions, you are not going to question this witness further.
Understood, my lady. My lady, in view of the circumstances, my client would like to stipulate that he has no objection on the divorce petition on the grounds stipulated by the petitioner. The respondent, my lady, would instead like to request this court to move on to hearing the issue of the Westlands house, which was property acquired during the marriage.
Noted, Mr. Limo.
My name is Naomi Zulu. I'm an accountant who used to work in the audit department of Bala & Associates. Now I work as a senior audit analyst at Fishwater Smith & Associates.
Bala & Associates, that's the audit firm where the respondent is the managing partner?
Yes, actually it was Mr. Bala who wrote my recommendation letter for my current position at Fishwater Smith & Associates.
Oh, I used to work for Mr. Bala. Is that the extent of your relationship?
No, I'm also his girlfriend.
So you're the person the petitioner refers to as the respondent's mistress?
No, I'm his girlfriend. We're in love and we're to be married once this whole mess is over.
By this mess, you mean divorce proceedings?
Yes. Mark had wanted to divorce Angela for quite some time now. He had been unhappy with Angela long before he and I started having a relationship. Mark and I became friends before there was any romantic involvement. We used to enjoy each other's company, so he used to talk to me about the problems they were having. He told me that he wanted to divorce Angela and take custody of his daughter, Audrey. Mark had told me of how cold and paranoid Angela could be, how she started drinking heavily, the endless arguments. Then Audrey was killed, and Mark blamed Angela. He said it happened because of her alcohol dependency.
I must object, my lady. This is hearsay, as the witness cannot possibly be able to substantiate these statements, as she did not experience them herself. Therefore, the testimony of this witness cannot be admitted as credible evidence.
My lady, we do not seek to admit evidence that the respondent's wife is cold, paranoid, and alcohol dependent. All we wish is that the last part of the witness's testimony be admitted as evidence that the respondent said that his wife is cold, paranoid, and alcohol dependent.
I shall allow that, Mr. Limo, but tread carefully.
In any event, my lady, I have no further questions.
Very well. Cross-examination, Miss Salama?
Yes, my lady. Did your affair start with the respondent when the respondent was still married to the petitioner?
It was after his daughter had died and he had moved out. The marriage was already over. He couldn't stand to be around Angela, not after what she had done to Audrey.
You didn't answer my question, Miss Zulu. Did you start the affair with the respondent while the respondent was still married to the petitioner?
Well, Mr. Lama, since they're technically still married, obviously that means that our relationship started while he was still married.
What do you have to gain from this, Miss Zulu? Is Mr. Bala promising you a job promotion when all this is over?
I've already said that we're going to get married because we're in love.
So you do not stand to gain anything, primarily in monetary terms, when the divorce is over?
Listen, I have my own job and I make my own money. That's why I left Mark's farm in the first place.
Thank you, Mrs. Zulu. Now, perhaps you can tell the court that you agree that certain aspects of your statement cannot be accounted for as credible, given the fact that you're comfortable living a lie. Apologies, my lady, on that last statement. But it is clear that counsel for the respondent has called this witness for the sole purpose of planting in the court's mind the ridiculous and unsubstantiated claim that the petitioner is an alcoholic and is somehow responsible for the death of her daughter.
Let me worry about the court's mind, Miss Salama. Do you have any other questions?
No, my lady.
Matters dealing with marriage and divorce are normally of a civil nature, but there are some criminal offenses that relate to marriage. For example, the Penal Code in Section 171 outlaws bigamy, which occurs when a person who already has a living husband or wife through a civil marriage purports to go through another marriage ceremony. Such a person who commits bigamy is liable to imprisonment for 5 years. However, this is different from marriage systems that legally allow for polygamy, such as customary or Islamic law. Time now to get back to the divorce proceedings of Bala versus Bala that our jury has been following, where the petitioner has been presenting evidence to prove infidelity on the part of the respondent. The issue of division of property is also up for determination, with Mrs. Bala claiming that she made some financial contribution and more so her substantial effort of staying home to take care of the family. The court will now hear from Mr. Bala.
Mark, we've had testimony from Miss Zulu that you had an affair during your marriage. Is this indeed the case?
Yes, Naomi is my girlfriend. And as you've just heard, I intend to marry her after this divorce is finalized.
So you are admitting adultery?
Yes, but you have to understand that things between Angela and I were finished a long time ago. I was tired of her fights, her paranoia, her endless accusations, and her drinking. I had had enough when she killed my daughter.
Killed your daughter? Isn't that an extreme thing to say? How sure are you that she killed your daughter?
She must have been driving while drunk, and that's why the accident happened.
No, I didn't, Mark. You know I didn't. It was an accident.
Miss Salama, tell your client I won't have such outbursts in my courtroom.
Mark, I know this must be very difficult for you, but how sure are you that your wife had been drinking on that day? I mean, there was no police report indicating drink driving.
It's because she drinks every day. She had completely changed from the woman I had married. She was a danger to herself as well as to our daughter. When the accident happened, Audrey died. I was devastated. I had no one to turn to. I couldn't stay with Angela any longer. I moved out. That's when the romantic relationship with Naomi started. Naomi saved me. She was the one who helped me throughout. Angela started drinking even more. She disappeared for weeks. Naomi and I had to make the funeral arrangements ourselves.
So let me see if I get this clearly. You suffered the tragic death of your daughter at the hands of your wife, and subsequently you committed adultery. Now your wife has petitioned for a divorce, and you want a divorce as well. Is that right?
Yes.
So if the court grants this divorce, you will live with Naomi, and you will let your wife have full ownership of the Westlands house?
No, that property is mine. I was the one who found it. I was the one who applied for and took out a loan in order to buy it. It's my name on all the loan documents and on the title deed for the property. I was the one who paid the monthly loan installments to the bank. It's my property.
But the petitioner said that she sacrificed, that she contributed towards...
I never asked her to give up her career. As for the contribution, it's a lie.
So you're saying you're the sole owner of the property, that you purchased it and you have full ownership of the property.
My lady, is counsel giving testimony on behalf of his client?
I will rephrase the question, my lady. Mark, are you saying you are the sole owner of the property?
Yes. Look, Angela barely contributed anything towards buying the property. Why should she be entitled to any of it? First, she kills my daughter, and now she wants my property.
My lady, we have already submitted for the court's perusal certified copies of the title deed, loan documentation, and bank statement, originals of which we have retained should the court want to verify authenticity.
I shall peruse the documentation, Mr. Limo, but I suspect Ms. Salama would like to cross-examine the witness.
The witness has made inflammatory and accusatory remarks, but he has already admitted adultery. Therefore, I have no further questions on that regard. As regards the property, what I would like to do with the indulgence of the court is to call back the petitioner for re-examination. Angela, I know this is very difficult for you, but you have to tell us exactly what happened on that fateful day leading to the accident.
I had gone to a friend's house to get together for our usual catching up sessions with my close group of friends.
Hey Angela, where are you going?
I have to go, guys. As usual, it's been a pleasure.
You're leaving so early, you haven't even touched your wine. What's going on?
I've made a decision. I know I've been telling you a lot about the problems Mark and I have been having. And I know you think I should kick him out. But I've decided to give it another try with Mark.
Are you sure? He's treated you so badly?
To be fair, we've treated each other badly. But I know he really loves Audrey, even though he doesn't spend much time with her. We need to make this work for her sake.
This guy has probably been cheating on you.
We can talk about this another time. Right now, I need to go pick up Audrey from school.
What happened next?
I got to Audrey's school. I made her sit in the back seat of the car as usual. On our way home, we got to a junction. I had right of way. As I was halfway through the junction, a speeding car came from the left without stopping and hit the rear left of our car. The force was so intense that Audrey was killed. The doctor said that it was instant. The driver of the other car was also killed. I was badly bruised, but okay. I wish that it was me that died that day.
Angela, even though it was an accident, do you blame yourself for the death of your child?
Yes, I do. I'm her mother. After the accident, I was so depressed that I couldn't even bring myself to arranging my baby's funeral.
Did you have any alcohol on the day of the accident?
No, I did not. I would never have endangered the life of my child by driving while drunk. The accident was exactly that, an accident. How could you think that I would put our baby's life at risk?
Why would your husband say something like that?
Mark, yes, he loved our daughter, and he was generous with his gifts. But that doesn't really substitute for him not being there. He was always too busy with work, too busy with his mistress.
Your husband claims the property, the house in Westlands, which was acquired during the marriage, is his alone and that you did not help in the acquisition. Is that true?
After we got married, we decided that it would be best if we bought a home to raise a family. Yes, Mark is the one who signed the loan documents. And yes, I foolishly did not insist that my name be on the title. I can't believe he's trying to hide this. For the first 2 years, I worked as a middle-level executive in a large advertising firm. So for that 2 years, I paid the bulk of the monthly loan installments.
Thank you, Angela. My lady, we have submitted certified bank records indicating payments made by the petitioner during the 2-year period. No more questions, my lady.
Very well. It has been recorded that both counsel have informed the court that in the circumstances, final submission shall focus more on division of property. Counsel for the respondent shall proceed first.
What do people ask of a good father and husband? They ask that he be generous, that he provide for the material needs of his family. And in order to do this, he must be hardworking, must be successful, which inevitably means that he will spend more and more time away from his family home. He is expected to sacrifice the time that he would like to spend with his family in order to provide for them. This is the most supreme sacrifice that a husband or father can make. The petitioner here and her lawyer claim that she is the one who sacrificed her career in order to support that of her husband. She claims that she sacrificed her career to take care of their child. Is it really a sacrifice to to spend as much time as possible with one's children. Surely, it is one of life's greatest pleasures. I argue that it is a choice she had, a choice that the respondent did not have. Indeed, a choice that many men in this country do not have. If the petitioner felt that it was such a burden to take care of their child, why didn't she go back to work when their daughter started school? She did not have to cook. Her husband employed someone to cook the family food. She did not have to clean. Her husband paid a maid to do the cleaning. So how did Miss Bala spend her days? Well, relaxing in the house, enjoying drinks with friends in the middle of the afternoon. That is the sacrifice she made. That is the sacrifice she claims to have made, while her husband was out every day working hard to provide for his family. He is the one who sacrificed the time he would have liked to spend with his child so that he could provide for his family. If his wife's contribution was taking care of their child, well, we've had it in this court. Their child died in her care. She cannot be entitled to any share of that property.
What is the value of a housewife? In fact, let us ask ourselves the real question here. What is the value of a woman? Because really, this is the issue in this case, putting value on women. According to the respondent's lawyer, a woman is worth nothing. If bearing someone's child, taking care of that child close to a decade, loving them, teaching them, and bringing them up in the correct way is not contribution enough, then what is? It is because many women agree to this responsibility that their husbands are able to go to work knowing that their children are safe and well taken care of. And what about the social events that the petitioner had to attend with the respondent as his wife? She had to make his husband look good in front of the clients and the firm. And what about the times when she had to host dinner parties on behalf of the respondent's firm? We all know that despite the changes in this modern society, the appearance, manner, and behavior of a man's wife reflects directly on the man. Isn't that contribution enough? Why did the petitioner agree to this? Because she was his wife, his partner. That is what marriage is, a partnership. And upon the unfortunate breakup of a marriage, each partner is allowed to go their separate ways, each with an equal share of the property acquired during the marriage. This court should not be cruel to women, and this court should not be cruel to a mother who is still mourning the loss of her child. This court must grant the divorce petition and order that the petitioner is entitled to 50% share of the property acquired during the marriage.
The judgment in the divorce case of Bala versus Bala is set to be delivered shortly. But before this, you, the jury, now have the duty to consider all the evidence adduced in court by both parties and decide whether a divorce should be granted, and further, how the property should be divided amongst the two. All right? Sarah, do you think there's any hope in this marriage?
Actually, there's no hope in this marriage. The marriage should be dissolved. But my main concern is the share, the kind of share that each person should get.
We've had, the husband saying, okay, I committed adultery. I just want this thing over and done with. Should there be an exit clause in a marriage? What do you think? Do you think they should just be handed this divorce so that they can split the property and bail?
No, I think typically, by the time you get to the decision of if it's irreconcilable differences or something like that, there should have been more effort on both parties. From what we've seen, I don't know if they went to that extent of probably trying to save the marriage. But I agree with Sarah that at the stage where things are at, the husband has already agreed that adultery was committed. The wife is happy to move on. So as far as having the divorce granted, I think that should happen.
Do you think, since Mr. Bala had an adulterous affair, that he should be punished?
It's wrong what he did. I don't know if you can sue him personally or like in her case, like maybe through divorce proceedings or something. I don't know about that part. But I think right now for the settlement, what she's asking for is property that they obtained within marriage. So I'm sure they also came with their own stuff. So she's not also being greedy or she's not being selfish. What she wants is what we built together. Can we divide it amicably and then we each go our separate?
So you're dividing this property into two. There's the stuff that she came with and he came with, and then there's the stuff that they
and she's only asking for
that
which is they invested in the home together. And that's what she's asking for, 50%.
Okay, I definitely think that they should divide it 50-50, but when you ask me the question about should he be punished, yes, definitely. She would have done this. She could have cheated on him, but why she resolved to drinking, she lost her daughter. And when he was neglecting her, she resorted to drinking, which is not breaking the law as such, but shouldn't he feel the pinch that he was with another woman when he's married? They're like legal contract with God and by the law that they're married together. So he should get some kind of punishment, maybe 60-40 for the property, I don't know.
What sort of punishment, I wonder, is he thinking about? That he should be flogged?
Go on, Mr.
Adultery is a very serious crime in marriage. But at what stage did Mr. Bala get involved in adultery? Maybe he was doing it so that they could get this divorce to show the wife that he no longer needed her, and he has a girlfriend, as we see. So now, let me finish. Let's look at that issue, and therefore, if you look at it seriously, you cannot punish adequately. The issue, as we have all agreed, is the property. To me, each one of these people contributed.
Exactly.
Monetary, is it time that she's invested? Is it support, like with his career? Exactly. Those are things you can't value. You can't put a price tag on stuff like that.
Mildred, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that in trying to show your wife that, she can't coil you around or patronize you or do something that you consider stupid, you don't go doing something stupid. So I don't buy Nguru's argument that he was trying to show the woman that, she's done ABCD. I don't think that's manly enough. You hide what? I mean, it's not justifiable. Whether you do it in the open for everybody to see or you take in some cocoon and hide it there is not justifiable. There's no justification, sorry, because this woman has feelings too. What if she did the same thing? What would you do to her? And I think that in our deciding what quantities or what portions everybody should get, these issues of what someone did or what someone has done or the issues that have contributed to the divorce should be a contributing factor, because if you're not considering those things, then I don't see why we're in court. We could just go and say, this is what you gave to this marriage, this is what you've given, split, go 50-50.
Okay, Jumali.
We cannot say that there is a tangible way of punishing Mr. Bala here for committing adultery, because we are not using any particular system. Like for me, if it was a Muslim, he would have been stoned to death.
Is that right?
Or even the woman would have
for the adultery when he's still married too.
Yeah, or even the woman would have been given, is it 100 strokes? Yeah, something like that. I'm not really quite sure. No, if it's a married woman who's committed adultery, but if it's a man, I think it's stoning
to death.
I do not have the particular details, but
all right.
Here,
but in this case, in
this case here, we cannot say that we are going to punish Mr. Bala here by distributing his property half-half. Here you see Miss Angela here contributed financially to the acquisition of the property, and we have got certified bank records. So, and she had to quit her job to stay at home, so that is also contribution, sacrifice. But you can see that there's some culture that is creeping among the Africans from the Western culture. If she knows that I have money now, she just gets married to me and then says, okay, I want a divorce, and she gets my property. That is coming in too.
Mr. Bala's property being divided between him and his wife is not punishing for his adultery. It's the woman's right as a partner in the marriage. So we are not talking about punishment for this guy. She contributed in form or in kind.
What I would even be saying to Mr. Bala at this point is, because now hiyo mambo ya property hiyo, I think to resolve that it is 50-50. It is partnership, all right? I would only throw an advice that even with his new wife, he should watch out, because if it happens again, then he's going to lose more property. So I think...
In terms of property, I think when you look at Angela, first, she contributed financially, and then there was all the support that she gave, which included things like taking care of the child, the love that she gave that child. There was all this sacrifice that she made for her career instead of for the state of the husband's career, like hosting the dinners and attending the functions. So over and on top of her financial contribution, there was a lot of all this other supportive contribution, which should also add on to. And don't forget, she's the one who's been faithful. She lost a child, you know, getting emotional support. This man, what he decided to do was, what? I'm tired, I'm gone, and I'm gone. That was it. In fact, he abandoned the matrimonial home, and in that sense, the house can even fully go to Angela.
So you should punish him in a sense.
I don't, if you call it punishment, call it punishment.
She was cold, paranoid, and alcohol dependent. We are
Okay. Of course she was paranoid.
We should not
asking him, are you having an affair? And he was in denial. Of course he turned it around and made her seem like she's paranoid.
My fellow jurors, the ladies here, my fellow lady jurors, with all due respect, we should not only be pointing fingers and blaming any fall of marriage to the man.
Mr. Nguru,
we are missing the point, because we are now trying to justify these actions. And we can't justify some actions. What we should be looking at is the contribution of the wife and the husband. In my opinion, both of them have contributed towards, both of them have contributed towards the acquisition of this house. So each one of them has got a share that he should be awarded. In my opinion, this lady, Mrs. Bala, contributed for 2 years. We are told she paid from her executive possession salary for 2 years. So at least we know the husband contributed, because from what we have evidence of, he's the one who acquired the property, signed the documents, etc. So he made the effort of looking for the property and acquiring it. That is a contribution. We can't deny that that is not a contribution, because if you just keep quiet and you don't look for the property and acquire it, you have no property. So what I'm saying is the share. In my opinion, each one of them is entitled to something.
Okay. But today, we are here to make our decision on how this property shall be divided. And I shall take your individual verdict, starting with you, Mr. Giduku.
50-50.
I would expect that the house is sold off, and the proceeds from that house are divided 50-50 between Mr. and Mrs. Bala.
Reluctantly, my verdict is that the property should be divided 50-50. Yeah, I think I'll just say that.
I would have thought otherwise if it was another case, but on this particular case, I think marriage is a partnership, and there was financial contribution to the acquisition of the property with certified bank records, and I therefore think that it should be shared 50-50.
I also think so too. Marriage is a partnership which, upon dissolvement, each counterpart should get equal share of the property sourced from marriage.
Anything that was gained within that marriage partnership should be divided equally.
I feel Mrs. Mbala is being fair, because she could also ask for alimony in her divorce settlement, because she's been left divorced. Now she's no longer a mother and she has no job. So I think they should share it 50-50.
I'm a very fair man. She has contributed and the man has contributed. Now at this stage, later stage, we can't apportion the percentage of contribution. So I'm going to award 50% to the wife, 50% to the husband.
Firstly, I'm so happy they're getting divorced, because they just look like a mess together. My verdict is that they should divide the property 50-50. However, I think a punishment should be sought for the act that he carried out.
Your verdict in the divorce matter of Bala versus Bala, you have unanimously decided to apportion the property on a 50-50 basis, so it should be divided equally. That is your verdict. Thank you very much for your service. Let's now find out what the court said.
As regards the petition for divorce, the proceedings in this matter are quite clear. The husband committed adultery, and both the husband and wife wish to divorce. Therefore, this court pronounces a decree in respect of the divorce petition presented by the petitioner. This means that the divorce takes effect as from this judgment and shall become absolute after expiry of 6 months as required under Section 15 of the Matrimonial Causes Act. However, neither of the parties in these proceedings can remarry until the divorce has been made absolute in 6 months' time. The simple truth is that the attribution of fault or the determination of guilt in divorce proceedings has no bearing on the issue of division of property after the divorce. On the matter of the division of property, the property was purchased by the husband and registered in the name of the husband alone. Although the wife claims to have made indirect contribution by taking care of the family and home, this cannot be considered to be equal to the financial contribution and therefore does not justify an equal share in the property. However, it would also appear from the evidence provided that in the first 2 years of the marriage, prior to the birth of their child, the wife did make financial contribution towards servicing the monthly loan installments. However, it is apparent that these indirect financial contributions are much less than the husband's. This court therefore finds that the wife holds an interest in property in the proportion of 1/4 share against the husband's proportion of 3/4 share. The property shall therefore be sold and the proceeds shall be divided between the wife and the husband in those proportions. This shall be the order of the court.
Your verdict was actually progressive. And I commend you for that progressive thinking, because if you look at the new constitution, which was promulgated under the Bill of Rights, in Article 45, it provides for equal rights to spouses at the time of getting married, during the marriage, and at the time of dissolution of the marriage. So what this means is that it should be, we should now begin to see different judgments, progressive judgments, like yours, where now you would say, well, it's equal, we were in this together, so we can apportion equally. And that particular decree, which is the dissolution of the marriage, the granting of a divorce order, brings to a close the case of Bala versus Bala. But what is your verdict? We would like to know. Please send a text to 8040, and you can also join the Facebook discussion on our Facebook page, Be the Judge TV series. And with that, thank you for watching, and see you next time on Be the Judge.
We, all the jurors, were on the different side of the law, so this shows that we really have to learn a lot.
You don't have to be that way, okay? Because I don't think the 10 years of marriage are worth only a quarter.
I'm in shock. Especially because somehow it was apparent to the judge that the contribution the woman made was not comparable to what the man made.
1/4 to me is a bit too low.
25% is low. I was already saying 60 from before, but as you can see, I was totally wrong against the court.
I think it's a very unfair judgment.
I would take him to court, get alimony and tell me you need to keep me in the lifestyle I was accustomed to living when I was with you, considering I have no job. Then yes, I can get my quota.